Well, hello again from the Granite State. My name is Gary, and this is Restoring Main Street podcast. Thank you for joining me. It's November 3rd, and what significance does that have? Well, yesterday, all across this nation, in every little town and municipality in each of our states, a percentage of Americans went out and made their voices heard. They voted. Unlike federal elections, the local voting that occurred yesterday, even the midterms that are coming up next year, are usually low turnout events, which in a lot of ways actually surprises me. But right now it is what it is. So why do I bring that up? Well, I wanted to take just a couple of minutes to maybe share a couple points with you, ask a couple questions, and then in the long run, I'm hoping to get your feedback. And this is not, even though it's about politics, is really not coming from a political point of view, even though I'm not going to try and kid you. I have one of those. I have a position. But what I'm trying to base this on is, like I said, just some principled questions, and I'm interested in what you think. So why don't we do this? Why don't we start the program? And hello again. So I guess what I'm going to do to try and relate to you is just talk a little bit about my small city, the city of Rochester, New Hampshire. We have a population of a little over 31,000, and that's as of the census in 2019. I would imagine it's probably clicked up a few since then, coming into the end of 2001. And much like every other small town, or we're considered a city, the makeup of such and your town government can vary from place to place. But in the long run, these are the things that are closest to you, and whether you'd like to believe it or not, whether it be out of frustration or history of how things quote unquote go in your town, this is the portion of your life that affects you, or you can affect the most, because it's within arm's reach. It's right there. It's where you drive home, where you park your car, where you call, you call home, where you hang your hat, where you pay your taxes. So I guess the reason for bringing this up is wondering whether you took the time yesterday to go out and exercise one of the biggest gifts that we have in this country, and that's that of your vote, your participation. So like I said, what I'm going to try and do, I guess, and try not to bore you to tears, is just share with you a little bit about my town, or my city rather, and see if you can relate. So, as you see here, right down in the right-hand bottom southeastern part of the state, you can see a little green square down there. That, my friends, is the wonderful metropolis known as Rochester, New Hampshire, where I live. And just to share, like I said, a few things with you about Rochester and see if perhaps you can relate a little bit. Rochester was incorporated in 1722. This town was one of the four granted by Samuel Shute during his brief term as governor of then Massachusetts, which at the time included the New Hampshire province. In 1722, the 1722 grant included what is now Farmington, New Hampshire, which is our neighbors, and Milton, and was named for a close friend of Governor Shute, Lawrence Hyde, the Earl of Rochester, who was a brother-in-law to King James II. And the first settlers arrived in 1728, but due to problems with the local Indians, the settlement didn't experience any growth until about 1760. And Rochester was incorporated as a city in 1891. It includes the village of Gonick, named after the Indian Squanamagana, meaning day and water. And we also have another little village in East Rochester, which is part of Rochester. And I guess this gets me to the portion of this that causes me to kind of ask some questions. If you'll look at this chart that I just pulled out, it shows the growth of Rochester starting in 1970. We were sitting at 17,938 souls here in the city of Rochester. And by, like I said, 2019, as of the census, it has grown to 31,526, which is, quite a leap. And you can see that illustrated there. Like I said, it's you probably have a hard time. It's the graphics are kind of small, but trust me with the mention of the population and what you're seeing there. Like I said, we've grown quite a bit from 1970, a little over 17,000 to 2019 to over 31,000 residents in this town. And much like other towns and municipalities, we have, your general municipal services. Our type of government, we have a council and managers. We have, like I said, city council and a manager. This is the portion of this that I guess I wanted to share with you most is if you look at this, the municipal budget or appropriations for 2021 is $48,868,269. And our school appropriations, our budget there for 2020 to 2021, $72,195,431. And we have, like most people, or most communities, we have, a full-time police department, we have a fire department, and we have emergency services. We have a hospital here in town, Frisbee Memorial. So we have all of what you might consider what you need to constitute a town and a place that you'd like to live. Now this next group is basically some of the demographics that I wanted to share. In the city of Rochester, like you said, a little over 31,000. You see the male population, a little over 15, female right there next to it. They're pretty neck and neck. And then you start breaking it down by age as far as the population goes. And you can see those under 5 are a little over 1,000. And then you creep up, and as you go from 5 to 19 and 20 to 34 and so on and so on, the actual numbers in the population grow. But I guess what I'm trying to get at here is if you look at the population, if you look at the approaching age of um, working class, people that should be concerned about what's going on in their community, how things are being handled, where the money is going. If you go back just for a second to that municipal budget, almost $49 million. That may not seem like a lot to, a much bigger community, but that's still an amount of money that I would hope that there'd be some concerns about, using it responsibly. The school budget, it's just about double what the municipal budget for the city is. Again, not an insignificant amount of money. And so based on this graphic that I showed you just a moment ago, as far as how the demographics in this town break down as far as age, there's a large chunk that are working here, living here, a decent amount of people that are growing old here. So I guess my point with all of this is there's a lot of people in this town that have a huge stake in what goes on here. And I'm just wondering how many of those individuals decided to go out yesterday and actually vote. I got some information from a friend of mine that took a snapshot actually from the town page at the end of the voting yesterday, and when things were tabulated, and it seems that we were up to about a little over 25% of the population actually got out and voted in my city, in Rochester, yesterday. And that was actually up almost 10.5% from 2019. And I guess that's still out of a city of over 31,000. I guess I should be pleased, but it still, to me, I guess begs some questions. And I guess that's kind of what I'm getting back to when I brought up these things and I showed you some of the statistics and what was going on in my city. So if you get participation of just under 25% of a population for a non-federal election, I suppose I should be happy. I know that don't get me wrong, there's some of the things that occurred, these things weren't insignificant. We actually, I'll share this with you. We actually made Newsmax yesterday. There was a post that basically talked about our mayoral race, where we flipped that position that had been held by probably what you would consider more progressive or democratic leaning mayors over the last few years. Even though I know municipal races like this are not supposed to be left or right, or Republican or Democrat. But like I said, this really, why I brought this up is really not from a political position. it's more for me a moral question, or talking about principles and concerns, those type of things. And I guess what it all leads to, when I look at the percentage of actual participation in Rochester, and I'm wondering about across the country, it just begs the question, what are we missing? What does it take, I guess, to motivate a larger percentage of people to get out and make their voice heard, even in these midterm or municipal elections? Is there concern with the populace about what's going on around them in their communities? I mean, I know when you look at the larger picture nationally, I know there are things that concern people. There are things that concern me, is the direction of this country, and the things that we're focusing on, as opposed to, like I said, what I would consider maybe a more principled stance, or some values that I remember, like I said, growing up with, and being taught in my formidable years. And I'm just wondering, do those things motivate people anymore, or is the reason we don't see a larger participation, is it out of frustration? Is it a lack of trust? Perhaps you do monitor things in your city, in your town, and do you see too much waste? Not enough attention to the things that concern you, how your tax dollars are spent. Like I mentioned, in my city, those two figures that I showed you are not insignificant amounts of money, and that constitutes the hard-working dollars of each citizen in my city. And is there enough concern there with how that money is spent that would possibly motivate more people to get out and make your voice heard? So how do we do that? Demand better from those that are looking to seek public office? I think part of the reason we're in the situation that we're in most cases is because for years we've trusted people. We've put our trust in those institutions and those positions of importance that are supposed to be kind of watching out for us, and maybe we've taken our eye off the ball, or maybe that frustration or lack of those individuals hearing your voice is what makes you stay home. But at this point, as you're seeing some things deteriorate around you, at what point do you decide to make a stand and stand up and in some cases, perhaps go work for somebody that you believe in when it comes to those efforts for your city council or school board or mayor, or like I said, when our federal elections come around. I'm just at the point where, if nothing else, I want to make sure that I try to shore up those things around me, and those people that run the city that I live in, and pray that they do it with the best of intentions. And the only thing that I can do to help facilitate that is vote and support them. So I'm just going to leave you, I guess, with a couple of questions. And I know it may seem like I've rambled a little bit tonight. I was, like I said, attempting to make the point that these things that happen in your community and the dollars that get spent in your city and town are yours. So I'm hoping that perhaps the next time this comes around in the midterms next year, that a larger percentage of you step out and decide to let your voice be heard. And I guess what I'd like in turn is if you would comment. I know I ask you to comment every week, but if you would comment this week, and if you didn't vote, maybe a quick explanation why. Doesn't have to be lengthy. Like I said, let me know your opinions, where your frustrations come from, and why you feel perhaps that those concerns aren't being met. And I'm trying to do this perhaps maybe to understand, and I'll share that with those that tune in for the podcast, and maybe we can have a conversation about things that are definitely important, and this is how you try to affect change. So please, if you would reach out, I would appreciate that. And I know I want to switch back and forth here from my pictures. I want to talk about the metal signs that you see out behind me. If you take a look at this camera angle, and you see out back, that is a We the People 1776 metal sign. And if we switch back to the webcam, you can see my silhouette logo in the background. Well, what I want to share with you briefly, and like I said, they don't, this is not a live read for them, but I just feel inclined to share these folks with you. This is Metalheads LLC at metalheadsrock.com, and they made those two signs for me to put in the background for my podcast. And like I said before, they have their own website, metalheadsrock.com, and they have everything from rock concert T-shirts and hats and all kinds of novelties in that respect. But they also do the metal signs like you see back there. They have tons and tons and tons of them that you can go in and take a look at. And if, like with my logo, I brought them in a picture and they produced that for me, so they can do something like that for you too. So T-shirts, hats, clothing, apparel, all that type of stuff. And they also do custom fire pits with different, like I said, metal graphics carved out in them. Everything from, they had some Halloween themed ones, to rock ones. Anything that you're interested in, if you check out metalheadsrock.com, I'm sure they could probably help you out and get you supplied with all the stuff that gets you headbanging or burning out in the backyard with some close friends this time of the year, because it is certainly getting to be fire pit season more and more as things get cooler and cooler. So like I like to remind you at the end of all of these, you can find the Restoring Main Street podcast on YouTube. You can find it on Rumble. You can find it on Gab TV. I have a Getter account. I have an Instagram account. I have a Twitter account, all Restoring Main Street podcast. And if you look those up, I would appreciate any one of those. And like I said, I do post to YouTube, but honestly, I seem to get the biggest feedback from Gab TV. I would really almost prefer that you would go there or to Rumble, but wherever you choose to watch, that's up to you. And I would support or appreciate your support. Yeah, like, share, write a review. That's one of the things that Facebook keeps bugging me about, is getting somebody, to write a review about restoring Main Street. All of those things, any of those things would help greatly. Share with a friend and get the word out, because the reason I do this is hopefully a way to inform you the best that I can, ask some relevant questions, and then I'm always looking, like I said, for your feedback. So if you would share your commentary, smash the like buttons on all of those social media platforms, and let me know what you think. I would truly, truly appreciate it. So once again, in leaving you, let me just say, please, the next time the opportunity for you to voice your opinion by using your vote, I would encourage you, please, to get out there and do that. And let me leave you with this: is God, freedom, and family. Because if we lose the first two, our families are certainly doomed. So thank you once again for tuning in, and God bless.